Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really dramatic medical case study, one where survival literally hinged on a measurement so small you can barely see it, and it forced a decision that had to be made in a matter of hours, not days. 1 millimeter. That's it. That's about the thickness of a credit card. And in the story we're exploring today, that single millimeter was the only thing holding a 14-week pregnancy together. It's a number that represents a cervix so critically, dangerously short that it created an immediate life or death crisis. And that right there, that was the stark, totally unfiltered warning from the senior specialist on the case. It wasn't some gentle suggestion. It was basically an ultimatum delivered by biology. The choice wasn't about what to do next week or even tomorrow. It was about what to do right now. Okay, so what did this 1 millimeter emergency actually look like on paper? Let's break down the clinical snapshot, because it's pretty wild. Here is the truly cruel irony of this whole situation. At 14 weeks, pretty much every other metric was pointing to a perfectly healthy pregnancy. You've got a strong fetal heartbeat, growth is right on track, amniotic fluid looks normal. I mean, by all these measures, everything is going great. But all of that good news was completely overshadowed by one single catastrophic point of failure, a cervical length of just 1 to 3 millimeters. To really, truly grasp the gravity of that single millimeter, we need to understand the job the cervix has. You can think of it as the gatekeeper for the entire pregnancy. And in this case, that gate was about to swing wide open. The medical term for this is cervical insufficiency. Now, think of the cervix as like a muscular drawstring bag, right? Its whole job is to hold the baby safely inside the uterus. Well, with this condition, that drawstring starts to loosen and open, silently, often without any of the usual signs of labor, threatening to end the pregnancy way, way too soon. And this chart, wow, this really just illustrates how extreme the situation was. A normal cervix in the second trimester, that's about 40 millimeters long. Doctors start to get really concerned and begin to intervene when it shortens to 25 millimeters. In this case, we're talking about 1 millimeter. That's not just in the danger zone. It is way, way beyond the threshold for alarm. It's almost off the chart. So this terrifying diagnosis led straight to the heart of the crisis, a truly impossible choice, with basically no time and absolutely no perfect answers. The specialist laid out two pretty harrowing paths. Option 1, a high-risk emergency surgery called a cerclage, where they try to stitch the cervix closed. Now, this offered a chance, but the procedure itself is so risky, it could trigger the very loss it was trying to prevent. And option 2? Do nothing, just wait, which, as the doctor warned, would almost certainly lead to pregnancy loss within a day or two. You can just feel the brutal reality of the situation in the specialist's own words. He's openly acknowledging the huge risk of the surgery, but he frames it as the only path that offered any hope at all. It was a choice between a very small chance and basically no chance. And if all of that wasn't enough, this medical crisis was unfolding under some immense external pressure. A long-haul international flight was booked for just 2 days later. And according to the clinical summary, the patient's insurer was reportedly pushing for them to continue with the travel plans, adding this whole other layer of logistical and financial stress to an already unbearable decision. So, the decision was made to take the risk, to intervene. What exactly did that medical rescue attempt even involve? The procedure is called an emergency or a rescue cerclage. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a last-ditch effort. When the cervix has already failed this dramatically, a surgeon goes in and attempts to place a strong stitch, kind of like a purse string, to physically reinforce that failing gatekeeper and provide the structural support that's just gone. The procedure itself, while it's surgically very complex, can be understood through a few key actions. After anesthesia, a suture is very carefully woven around that fragile cervical tissue. It's then tightened just enough to give it support with one single critical goal: physically hold the cervix closed and give the pregnancy a fighting chance. But look, the surgery alone wasn't going to be enough. It had to be part of a bigger, comprehensive strategy. This also included things like progesterone therapy to help keep the uterus calm and prevent contractions, a really dramatic reduction in physical activity, and a plan for constant, close monitoring to make sure that stitch was holding. So beyond the immediate surgery, the path forward was anything but simple. It really required a complete reevaluation of every single plan and a new reality of constant vigilance. So, first things first, that flight was off the table. The medical team was crystal clear about this. In such a fragile state, both before and immediately after surgery, a long-haul flight was considered extremely high risk. The specialist made it known that travel was absolutely medically inadvisable until the situation had stabilized, and he gave his explicit approval. Life after that rescue stitch became a world of just careful observation. It meant regular, frequent ultrasounds to check on the cervix, to check on the stitch. It meant being on high alert for any warning signs, contractions, bleeding, any kind of pressure. And it meant living with really strict limits on physical activity. Every single day was about protecting that one fragile point of support. Ultimately, this whole case forces us to confront one of the hardest questions in medicine, and really in life. When you're faced with an impossible choice, where every single option is filled with risk and there are absolutely no guarantees, what does it take to make a decision and then face whatever comes next? It's just a profound challenge, right at the intersection of science, hope, and human resilience.